Here's a scene from a favorite movie of mine.
Morning, girl. Morning, Marvus. Marvus!
Has it ever happened to you? You see something, you know what you see, but somehow the reality did not hit you immediately. What I'm about to share has already been covered in previous videos, but I felt it necessary to drive home two important points before we continue. These points are particularly significant because I will be directly speaking to Jehovah's Witnesses, and it could prove fruitless if these 2 points are not firmly established. The first has to do with the Watchtower concept of and attitude towards people they call apostates. The Oxford Dictionary defines apostasy as the abandonment or renunciation of a religious or political belief or principle. If this definition is to be applied, then kingdom halls all over the world would have many apostates, because many persons have abandoned previous religious convictions to become Jehovah's Witnesses. The Oxford definition is therefore too wide. A much better definition is given by the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society. Definition: apostasy is abandoning or deserting the worship and the service of God, actually a rebellion against Jehovah God. Some apostates profess to know God, but reject teachings or requirements set out in His Word. Stop there for me, please. What you describe as features of apostasy is of secondary importance. That second sentence is also nonsense. Some apostates profess to know God. Every single apostate at least has a knowledge of God. They used to worship Him, remember? And all, not some, all apostates reject teachings or requirements set out in His Word. That is what makes them apostates. Look back at your definition. They are so bent on branding former Jehovah's Witnesses that they are harboring on stupidity. Of primary importance is the definition. The Watchtower knows very well that apostasy is the rejection of God, not the rejection of the Baptist Church, nor the Anglican Church, nor the Adventist Church, nor the Catholic Church, nor the Watchtower organization. Apostasy is abandoning or deserting the worship and service of God. A search of the word apostasy in the 2010 version of the Watchtower Library shows it appearing 1,091 times in their publications, including 17 times in their Bible. Yet the word does not appear once in the King James Version or the New International Version. A similar thing happens with the word apostate. It appears 1,127 times in the Watchtower Library, including 13 times in their Bible. But again, it appears 0 times in the King James Version and the New International Version. Of course, the fact that the words themselves don't appear in the other versions of the Bible does not mean the principle doesn't. Certainly, there are Bible accounts of apostasy. I therefore wanted to see if the Watchtower properly applied it in any of the verses in which it appears in the New World Translation. Not even one of the verses spoke specifically about persons who once worshipped God before rejecting Him. I also checked to see what word the King James Version and New International Versions used where the New World Translation used apostate. Where the Watchtower has apostate in their Bible, the King James Version uses the adjective hypocritical or the noun hypocrite, while the New International Version has the word godless or ungodly. You're probably thinking that I'm using too narrow a reference. After all, there are other translations of the Bible. Pause the video where necessary and look at all the English translations of Isaiah 33 verse 14. See if you find one reference to apostates in any of them. Have some fun. Try the other verses for yourself at BibleGateway.com. Worthy of note is that the Watchtower Library suggested that the word apostate, singular, appeared 13 times in the New World Translation, but as it turned out, it appeared only 10 times, because it appeared once in their notes on Psalm 35 verse 16, and twice in their own Bible words indexed. In the plural form, it appeared 3 times. So, in total, the word appeared 13 times in their Bible, but, as I said, not once in the King James Version or the New International Version. Without getting deeply into the matter of original languages, a few questions come to mind. Whatever word the King James Version translates as hypocrite or hypocritical, does it appear only 13 times? As it turned out, the word hypocrite appears 31 times and the word hypocritical 2 times in the King James Version. I wonder why the New World Translation did not translate those as apostates as well. As for the NIV, the word godless appears 21 times and ungodly 19 times. Exactly what is going on here? Even by Watchtower reckoning, it's a word that is seldom used in the 66 books of the Bible, not once in the New Testament. What is this obsession of the word by the organization, so much so that it appears over 1,640 times in their publications between its singular and plural forms? This is separate and apart from the 13 times it appears in their Bible and does not include the many publications not included in the Watchtower library. Why is God and the Bible less concerned about people who have abandoned God than the Watchtower is about people who have abandoned the society? Easy. God does not fear those who abandon him. The Watchtower, on the other hand, is terrified of those who abandon the organization. As you will see browsing the internet, more and more former members are coming to see the errors being taught by the Watchtower. The organization must do all it can to prevent current members from speaking with and discovering the truth from those members. That is what this is about. Let's examine another instance of a deliberate attempt by the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society to deceive. In video 4, it was pointed out that the society dishonestly applies 2 John 10 to suit their doctrine of shunning apostates. I pointed out that the apostle was speaking about the Antichrist or Antichrist, not about apostates. The evidence was highlighted in verse 7. Guess what? The Watchtower is fully aware of the deception. See what it says about verse 7 of 2 John.
Does the Bible refer to only one Antichrist?
2 John verse 7. Many deceivers have gone forth into the world, persons not confessing Jesus Christ as coming in the flesh. This is the deceiver and the Antichrist. Notice that the many Antichrists of 1 John 2 verse 18 are here referred to collectively as the Antichrist. There you go. It is not lost on them that the chapter is discussing the Antichrist, yet the Watchtower uses that chapter dealing with the Antichrist to suggest that Paul instructed that apostates be shunned.
Would faithful Christians welcome apostates into their presence, either personally or by reading their literature?
2 John 9 and 10. Everyone that pushes ahead and does not remain in the teaching of the Christ does not have God. If anyone comes to you and does not bring this teaching, never receive him into your homes or say a greeting to him. Beginning with video 14, I will be sharing with you some glaring bits of dishonesty and deception in that book, Reasoning from the Scriptures. In summary, by the Watchtower's own definition, which is correct, an apostate is someone who has abandoned the worship of God. That is to say, they once worshipped God, but now rebel against him. You therefore cannot apply the term to ungodly people who never accepted God in the first place, as the New World Translation does. So, if the organization once taught something and a member rejects it and sends in a letter of disassociation from the organization because of it, that member has not rejected God. The person rejected a false teaching. When the Watchtower finally admits that it was wrong, that person should be automatically redeemed from that label if you still held on to it in your mind. By the same token, any person who rejects a Watchtower teaching or Watchtower teachings but still worships God is not an apostate. He is redeemed from that evil label. As for the burial of a slave, that requires very little discussion. The Watchtower organization itself struck a fatal blow to their own doctrine by finally admitting that Christ did not appoint the slave over all his belongings in 1919. They now teach the slave was only appointed to serve proper food. The slave cannot declare himself faithful. That is not in his job description. It is the righteous judge who will make that declaration. The Watchtower now admits it is a future event. So, to drive home the point, to drive another nail in the coffin of that false doctrine, let me re-emphasize. No slave has been declared faithful by the master as yet. Let me say it again. No slave has been declared faithful by the master as yet. The information age finally kills that argument as well, exposing the unfaithfulness of that slave. It is a fact firmly established by the record of the slave. We must therefore reach the positive and indisputable conclusion that the slave has been very indiscreet and quite unfaithful. As of this moment, we are now burying that argument. It is now totally irrelevant, eliminated, done for, wiped out, demolished. History. Every future reference to the governing body or any individual or the organization as the faithful and discreet slave will be dismissed for what it is, fiction. Now that we have clearly settled that argument, it is my sincere hope that the way is now paved for the truth to be revealed. We are now getting ready to examine what the Bible really teaches. But first, in the next video, I explain why it is so important to get a certain elder to be honest with himself and with others.